Ortiz proved to be an extremely valuable guy. You see, he was highly motivated. He wanted nothing more than to go home to Spain, and so we said we would take him with us when we went. And so he was going to be very reliable. But he wasn't just a very reliable guide. After spending 12 years with the natives, he spoke or understood many of the native dialects. That means he'd be a very valuable translator for us. Not only did we have a valuable guide, we also had someone who could help us communicate more effectively with the natives. And so that winter, we captured the territory of the Appalachian natives. By captured, I mean we either kicked out, killed, or enslaved them, took all their food and supplies, leaving them nothing for the coming winter. And what did we want more than anything? Gold! And they had? No gold! But we heard rumors that there was gold being mined to the east in the chiefdom of the Cafatachequi. So that next spring, we set our feet toward the rising sun, toward the Cafatachequi, and the gold. Well, when we crossed over the Ocmulgee River into today's Georgia, we came across meat roasting on a barbacoa. As far as I know, this is the first recorded instance of a barbecue in Georgia. You guys still have barbecues?
Yeah!
And on our way to the Cafatachequi, we actually came across the Mississippian Indians.
Oh my God!
And this is where we saw our very first Indian mounds. They're these large hills made of soil, sometimes 60 feet tall. I need 2 volunteers to be an Indian mound for me. You two right here. Me. Okay. Yep. All right, go like this toward each other. You're each going to be one half of the mound. All right, what? We got it. I believe in us. Here we go. Yep. There you go. Now just imagine that they're 60 feet tall. Now, the natives would use the Indian mounds mostly for ceremonial purposes, but sometimes they would also use them to store excess corn. Now, the Mississippians themselves were very strong and robust natives. They were very wealthy and very mighty, and many of the neighboring tribes feared them, but they were very nice to us. In fact, they even let us take a cross, go up on top of one of the Indian mounds, plant it, and claim it for Spain and for the Catholic Church.
What?
Give a round of applause! Now, the Mississippians were very nice to us, so what do you think we did? We either kicked out, killed, or enslaved them, took all their food and supplies as well, leaving them nothing, and what do we want more than anything? And they had no gold! That's okay, we heard that the gold was in the chiefdom of the Cafatachequi, and we were still heading that way. But as we continued to explore and try and find the chiefdom of the Cafatachequi, we had a big problem. We couldn't find it. We would find out later the Cafatachequi had recently undergone a smallpox epidemic and a drought. And so that meant that there was no one to use or maintain the paths that we were looking for anymore. And so Ortiz knew that there were supposed to be paths, but we couldn't find them. So it took us a lot longer to find the Cafatachequi, but eventually we did. And they came out and greeted us and gave us many valuable gifts, including some very valuable strands of gold.
Those are not real.
And so, you see, the Cafatachequi had heard from other natives that we wanted treasures more than anything. So they thought that if they gave us treasures, then we wouldn't take the rest of their stuff. But we still took the rest of their stuff. They watched very patiently as we raided their temples of copper, mica, glass beads, more pearls, and gold! It turns out the rumors that we had heard that the Cafatachequi had gold were false. Well, that made Hernando de Soto very upset. Now, the lady of the Cafatachequi also came out to greet us, and she was sitting quietly at her bottom with one hand raised. You already know it. Right there. Come on out. Yeah. Now, the lady of the Cafatachequi was the chiefdom of all of the Cafatachequi. You see, unlike our European system where we track the bloodlines back through the fathers, the Kapatachki tracked their bloodlines back through the mothers, and so it was a woman that was in charge of the entire chiefdom. Now, the lady of the Kapatachki also had with her a chest full of very valuable pearls. You see, there were two kinds of pearls the Kapatachki had. There were the very valuable pearls that were of many different colors and very pure and luminescent, and then there were also a lot of burned pearls. You see, they would eat the oysters, so they would throw them into the fire so they would cook and open up, but then if there was a pearl inside, it would become burned and discolored and slightly less valuable. Still pretty valuable, though. But the chest that the lady of the Kapatachki had was of the very valuable pearls. And Hernando de Soto had promised that he was going to let her go, but he was so upset that the Kapatachki didn't have any gold like we had heard that he decided instead to keep her as a captive. Now, do you remember when Pizarro said he would let the Incan emperor go? And then De Soto was extremely upset with him when he didn't, right? Now Hernando de Soto found himself doing the same thing that used to disgust him before, all for the love of gold. So instead of letting her go, we took her with us as we continued to explore out into the children-shaped wilderness. Excuse me. Thank you. And we went into today's North Carolina and Tennessee, and eventually back to today's Georgia. Well, do you think the lady of the Kapatachki particularly enjoyed being our captive? No. Well, after several attempts, she finally escaped! She had to walk 300 miles back to the chiefdom of the Kapatachki with her and her handmaidens, and a very valuable chest of pearls. Give her a round of applause! Now, we had a foot soldier with us named Juan Duran, who is sitting quietly on his bottom with one hand. I saw you. Come on. Now, Juan was a foot soldier, which meant he had to walk through the dense wilderness on foot, and he was wearing 80 pounds of armor, this silly hat, and he was also carrying 6 pounds of what he thought were the burned pearls that he had stolen from the Kapatachki temple. Well, needless to say, having to carry all these things made him very tired. And so he offered the bag of pearls to a horseman who was sitting quietly on their bottoms with one hand. I saw your hand first. Come on. Okay, come over to this side. Okay. And when Juan offered him the bag of pearls, the horseman said, "Whoa!" Say whoa. And the horseman said, "You had better keep half of those for yourself. With those, you could buy a fine horse or even more." But Juan, distressed at the idea of carrying one more pearl, one more step, said, "Be that so or not,
Be that so or not,
here they go!"
Here they go.
And he grabbed the bag of pearls by the bottom, held it up above his head, and spun it around, scattering all 6 pounds of pearls out into the wilderness. But this is when we realized something. These were not pearls. These were the very valuable pearls. Just a few of those could buy a fine horse or even more. When we realized this, we scattered and tried to grab as many of the pearls as we could. But it was such thick, dense wilderness that out of 6 pounds of very valuable pearls, only 30 of them were ever found. When Juan realized his mistake, he cried out, "There are no pearls for Juan Turan!"
There are no pearls for Juan.
And when we said this, we thought it was hilarious! From then on, for the rest of the expedition, whenever somebody did something silly like Juan had, we would make fun of them by saying, "There are no pearls for Juan Turan." Say it with me! There are no pearls for Juan Turan. Give him a round of applause! We continued to explore, and we came across the chiefdom of the Kusa. Now the Kusa really impressed us. You see, their leader came out riding on a palanquin, that's like a couch borne up on the shoulders of men, as you can see here. And he spoke in the real sense of history and culture, and seemed to be very educated. In fact, the Kusa reminded us very much of our home back in Spain. So what do you think we did?
Kill them and take this up.
We either kicked out, killed, or enslaved them, took all their food and supplies, and they had no gold. Did you know at this point in our expedition, we still hadn't found a single piece of gold? It was very frustrating. Well, we continued to explore, and now we are approaching the territory of the Etowah. But we had a big problem we had to get past first. The Etowah River. You see, it had recently flooded, and so the Etowah River was running very deep and strong. And normally, when we came across a big river like this, we would just find the most shallow part, hold our things above our head, and wade through the water to get to the other side. Now, with over 620 of us and hundreds of horses and pigs and other supplies, that would take a few hours. But now the river was running so deep and strong, if we tried to cross it, we would get swept down the river, dashed against the rocks, lose all of our supplies and maybe even our lives. That doesn't sound like a very good plan. Well, fortunately, we had forced Maestro Francisco, an Italian master shipwright, to come with us on the expedition. He was in charge of supervising the building of boats and rafts and ships to cross bodies of water. Seems like the right guy for the job, huh?
Yeah.
Well, even he said that if we built a raft and tried to get our things across, we would get swept down the river, dashed against the rocks, and lose all of our supplies, maybe even our lives. That's not very good, is it? So he came up with this idea instead. We decided we were going to string our bondage chains all the way across the river, then we would build a raft, load our things onto it, and use the chain to pull against the current across to the other side. And it worked. However, it took a very long time with over 600 people and hundreds of horses and pigs and other supplies. Instead of just taking us a few hours, like fording across the river would, it took us 4 whole days just to get across the Etowah River.
What?
Well, once we were on the other side, we came across the Etowah Indian Mounds. And did you know you can go see these Indian mounds this very day? They're just in today's Cartersville, Georgia, just a couple hours north of here. And we saw they had the 3 large mounds, as well as a large wooden palisade. That's like a wooden fort wall that went all the way around the village. And we saw that they had been in the height of their culture probably a couple hundred years before we got there, because they had many fine pieces of artwork, like the sitting statues.
Oh my God!
But we could tell they were already very old, and so they weren't as wealthy as they had once been. And there are also lots of scuppernongs. These are like large wild grapes, and they were very delicious. Well, as we approached the palisade at Etowah, the chief called out over the wall and told us to put down our weapons or they were going to attack us. So what do you think we did?
Put down your weapons.
We decided to let them attack us. You see, we knew that we had far better weapons and armor, and there was a battle, but we won pretty quickly. And then we either kicked out, killed, or enslaved them, took all their food and supplies as well, and they had no gold. It's very frustrating. So we decided to start exploring out to the west now. We came across the village of Mobila, near today's Selma, Alabama. Now, as we approached the palisade at Mobila, they had a large wooden fort wall too. We realized we were running low on some supplies, so we left many of our men out in the